Hey everybody, just wanted to say hi and welcome you to the first devotional that we're going to be posting here on the channel. I'm excited about being able to meet in this way. I realize it's not as good as being able to meet in person on a weekly basis, but it is better than nothing during this time when we can't physically meet together. Would you believe me if I told you that the last time we met for a warehouse gathering of any kind was only 10 days ago? That's it, just 10 days. That's crazy to think about because it feels like it's been so much longer since we've been able to get together and hang out with each other. But just 10 days ago, we were hanging out together with the high school students, playing games and talking about hope. And high school students, what I want you to do is I want you to try to take yourself back to that night and to think about what life looked like then. If you're a junior high student watching this right now, go back 2 weeks from now to the last time that we were able to meet. That night we were playing hide and seek, I believe, if that helps you kind of bring it back into your memory. But take yourself back into that place and think about how different life was just a week and a half to 2 weeks ago. In your wildest dreams, would you have ever imagined that just a week and a half to 2 weeks later, our lives would look like they do now? That our lives would be as different as they are now? I know that me personally, I'm still trying to wrap my head around just exactly how much my life has changed in such a short amount of time. Our lives are drastically different today than they were just a week and a half to 2 weeks ago. And as I've been watching kind of how things have been unfolding in our country and around the world, there are a few Bible verses that have come to mind and a couple of very real things that God has reminded me of during this time. The first Bible verse that came to mind is from Proverbs 27:1, and it says, "Don't boast about tomorrow, for you do not know what tomorrow may bring." Right? Let's read that again. Don't boast about tomorrow, for you do not know what tomorrow will bring. I don't know about you, but me personally, I don't think that verse has ever hit quite as hard as it has just this last week or so, that we really don't know what tomorrow is going to bring in our lives. One of the things we talk about somewhat on a regular basis at Warehouse is that we're not guaranteed tomorrow, right? We know that the Bible teaches that our lives are temporary and that we're not guaranteed anything beyond the time we have now. And one of the things that causes us to do is ask the question, well, then how am I living today, not knowing if I have tomorrow or not? But one of the things that we don't often think about is that when we are given tomorrow, our tomorrow may look drastically different than our today did. And that's kind of the reality of what we're living in right now, that our lives today look drastically different than they did just a little while ago. We don't know what tomorrow is going to look like. It could be even more drastically different in one way or the other than it does today. And that's one of the things that Proverbs 27:1 reminds us of, that our tomorrow is out of our control and that it could bring something with it that we didn't expect or that we weren't anticipating or that we weren't prepared for. And so our world is always changing around us. And I think that really kind of summarizes what we've been experiencing for the last week and a half to 2 weeks, right? That there's a lot of changes that have come in our lives that seem like they're just out of our control and there's nothing we can do about it. And there's a lot of things going on right now in our world that we just didn't expect and weren't ready for. And the reality is that's still where we are today. We don't know what tomorrow holds for us. We don't know what tomorrow may bring. We're still in the middle of this rapidly evolving COVID-19 situation going on not only in our country, but around our world. And there's just a lot of unknowns to that. I can't count the number of times that somebody has asked me, "Hey, Keith, what do you think is going to happen in this situation related to what we're going through right now?" And I've given a response. But oftentimes at the end of those responses, my final answer is, but we really don't know. There's so many things that we don't know that we're just kind of having to play by ear as they come. And I think for me, that was the very first real thing that I was reminded of these past couple of weeks. That when it comes to tomorrow, we simply don't know. And that's not just in the world that we're living in today. That's every day. That we don't know what tomorrow is going to bring. We don't know what changes life is going to throw at us, or if the way that we're living today is going to be the way that we're living tomorrow. There's so much uncertainty when it comes to the future because that's something that's completely out of our control. But in thinking about the fact that we don't know what tomorrow may bring, and that's something that we can really never know. There is one thing that we do know that Scripture reminded me of these past couple of weeks as well. Two Bible verses come to mind right off the top of my head. Hebrews 13:8, which says that Jesus is the same yesterday, today, and forever. And Malachi 3:6 that says, "For I, the Lord, do not change." And in some ways, I think that's the reminder that we all need today. That in this ever-changing world that we're in, especially right now when our lives seem like they've changed in ways we never actually thought that they would, that even in all of this change, God is still God. He has not changed, and He never does change. And that was the second thing that I was reminded of, that God is a constant God, even in an ever-changing world. That God is constant, that He is fixed, that who He is and who He was is who He's always going to be. And so one of the things that has helped me is I asked this question: what is one thing that was true about who God was 2 weeks ago? And I answered that question. And then I asked that question again. I said, okay, what is one more thing that is true about who God was 2 weeks ago? And I answered that question again. And I did that over and over and over again and came up with this list of things that were true about God just 2 weeks ago when our lives seemed so much more normal. And as I worked through answering this question over and over again, and I was reminded of these verses that God is the same yesterday, today, and forever, that He doesn't change, I was reminded of the fact that everything that I've written down, everything that was true about who God was just 2 weeks ago is still true about who God is today. Because the reality is that our God doesn't change. And thinking about that truth during these last couple of weeks has brought me a lot of comfort and peace in this situation where I feel like I'm out of control, that I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. I know that God is still the same God, and it brings me comfort and it brings me peace. And I hope thinking about this brings a level of comfort and peace to you as well, because these are uncertain times just as much for you as they are for me. And so reminding ourselves of who God is, who He was, and who He still is, I think is something that can help us continue to put our faith in Him during this time and continue to be filled with peace during this time, even in situations like this that really just feel like they're out of our control. Now, you may have noticed that I didn't actually answer the questions in this video that I asked about what is something that was true about God 2 weeks ago. And that was intentional because I want you to do that on your own after finishing watching this video. I told y'all in that previous video that I was going to give you some kind of an action step, some kind of a homework assignment that you can work on from these devotionals that are designed to help you continue to grow in your relationship with God. And so with that being said, I have 2 questions for you today that I want you to think about and I want you to answer. The first question is this: what are 2 or 3 things that are different about your life today compared to 2 weeks ago? We talked about the fact that so many things have changed and so many things have changed quickly. And so what are some of those big changes for you, the ones that you're feeling the most? Think about that. Take some time and write 2 or 3 of those things down after finishing watching this video. The second question is this: what are 2 or 3 things that are true about God that have always brought you comfort and peace? We talked about the fact that God is the same yesterday, today, and forever, and that He doesn't change. And so whatever those things are that have brought you comfort and peace in the past about who God is, those things are still true today. And I would encourage you to take some time to think about that and to think about who God is and what it is about Him that brings you that sense of comfort and that sense of peace, and write those things down and think about them. But that's it for this video. I hope you found it helpful. One of the things I would encourage you to do is, after you've thought through some of the answers to those questions, to go ahead and write those down in the comment section and talk with each other about them. Encourage each other with what it is about God that brings you comfort and peace, and talk to each other about how your lives have changed and what you're doing to continue to move forward during this time. But until next time, as always, stay safe. And if there's anything that y'all need, let me know. I'm here for y'all. I'm happy to help in whatever ways that I can. See y'all guys later.